That was it.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call to order a meeting of the Tompkins County Industrial Development Agency for Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. First item of business, we have an agenda for the IDA and the Development Corporation today. We'll do the IDA first. And first item is privilege of the floor. Is there anybody who wishes to address the IDA? Seeing none, we do have a couple additions to the agenda, and one of them regards a budget issue, a county budget issue, and then you had another one regarding the Housing Committee?
They kind of go together, yes. The Housing Committee update.
Okay. How do we want to proceed? I'd like to cover the Planning Department budget item before we get to the draft TCIDA budget. I guess we'll do it then. So we'll do it as part of that item. Okay. Otherwise, I guess we can proceed to business. And the first is 209-215 Dryden Associates LLC assignment of pilot request and approval. And I believe we might have a guest here today.
We do. We have Jeremy Thomas, Associate Vice President of Asset Management at Cornell University, here with us today. And in your agenda packet, you will find a letter from Cornell University Real Estate Department. Cornell is looking to acquire 209-215 Dryden Road, and they anticipate closing on this transaction in early November. And when this pilot was established in 2015, it was agreed that if the tenant, Cornell, were to purchase the building, they would still be obligated to pay taxes for the remaining term of the 50-year pilot that was in place. And I will open it up for any questions that you may have for Jeremy.
Yeah, welcome. I do have a question for Russ. Welcome, Russ. Thank you for being here today on Zoom.
Sorry for not being there in person. My apologies.
This seems like an interesting circumstance that we have a not-for-profit that is buying the property, and that if we indeed said we don't wish to continue the pilot, it would then just be a not-for-profit buying the property, and it might go off the tax rolls entirely. And
that's correct.
And that's why we put that provision into the approval for the original owner. Yes?
Yeah, presumably I was not involved in the original transaction, but Kelly and I and the applicant or the requesting party for the assignment of the pilot have discussed this, and they've agreed to continue the pilot payments regardless of the fact that they may be treated as wholly exempt upon taking title of the property.
Okay. Jeremy, is there anything you want to share with us? Or?
I'm here to answer questions if there are any.
Okay. Are there any questions? Deborah?
No question, just thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Duxon?
So Jeremy's letter indicates that they're looking for the IDA's consent, but since it's built into the original agreement, is there really anything for us to do?
I guess we could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if I may, just very quickly, Duxon, because they're actually acquiring title of the property, the actual underlying pilot will have to be assigned from the current owner to the whatever entity that is purchasing it. I'm assuming it's a standalone entity, just so it continues without disruption.
It will be Cornell University purchasing it, so it would have to then assign from the owner now to Cornell University.
Gotcha, thank you.
But to your point, I think it's entirely in our interest to grant the request. So anybody else? Greg?
Jeremy, are there back taxes owed on this property currently?
We believe that they are. In fact, we just saw the property show up on the list. I think it came out yesterday.
Yeah.
The intent will be, or we will not close on this property unless that is resolved at the closing table.
Okay.
The proceeds from the, I don't know I don't know how the source, but I'm assuming the proceeds from our acquisition will be used. So that will transfer to us with clean title.
So Cornell has been paying the property taxes all along to the owner of the
We have been
building?
paying rent to the owner, and the understanding is that the owner should be paying their obligations.
Okay, I didn't know if you had what type of the lease structure was, if you had,
It's a capital lease, so we are responsible for all of the costs associated with the property, down to potential future capital improvements. And it's one of the reasons we're pursuing this sale, because we have all the costs of ownership without any of the benefits of ownership.
yeah, I did see that come up, and I just wanted to make sure that that was noted and that we'll get that cleared up before.
Yes, we have to have that cleared before we're willing to close on this purchase.
Thank you.
In the broader picture, it does seem like there's a tremendous amount of transition going on in College Town because of the movement of all of the different properties that have been involved in the turmoil. But Cornell also acquired what I always think is the old Egan's property, the IGA, but that dates me a bit. I guess Jason's Deli is there or whatever. What intentions do you have for that property in the longer term?
In the short term, I'll answer the question you didn't ask as well, because in the short term matters.
Because I've asked that question before, and I got...
So we do intend to use that for student housing moving forward. There's some work that needs to be done in the property. But in the long term, we hope to find a partner to redevelop that property. And the goal there is to increase the active nature of College Town and find a way to not do just housing, but to really kind of change the dynamic there in a way that makes it a place that people want to come to, create some gathering spaces, not just for our students, but for the community. So long-term, that's the vision. We see in this, you hear this from people a lot that went to school here 30 years ago. College Town was so different, a bit of nostalgia wrapped up in that, but at the end of the day, we think that it should be a more active place, and we own very little there. So this was an effort to get sort of a stake in the ground and try and make some change there. But that is a longer term play.
Yeah, and you and I have had some conversation about that over the years, and I really think that this is an area that a bid would be an appropriate development to sort of allow a more focused approach on that area. I do have concerns that if Cornell moves in a big way, that you could see erosion of the tax base in that area. And certainly for the city of Ithaca, that is a major source of their revenue. There's so much value tied up in a few blocks that taking a more structured and sort of considered approach, I think, would make a lot of sense. But I totally agree with your vision that I think Cornell or College Town could be dramatically more than it is right now. And it should be. It really should be the front door for Cornell. So, good. I don't know if anybody else has anything. I could talk about this for a long time, and I won't. So, are we ready to vote?
I think we got to move it first.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Deborah seconds. Any more discussion? I'll call the roll. Duxon?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So that was pretty easy.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
And next up is Caramore Solar. Final approval. Do we have a representative here?
Oh, he just entered the waiting room. Look at this.
Okay.
Okay. Ryan, you are right on time.
Very good. Happy to hear it.
Okay, today with us over Zoom, we have Ryan McCune, Vice President of Business Development from Nexamp. This is the request for final approval for Caramore Solar. The project request to add 3.8 megawatts of energy storage to their 5 megawatt solar project in the town of Ithaca on Mecklenburg Road. The request includes amending the pilot agreement to include 3.8 megawatts at $4,200 per megawatt with a 2% annual escalator for 25 years, which matches the current approved pilot, and an increase in their sales tax and use benefit from $432,964 to $757,399, an increase of just over $324,000. The public hearing was held on October 7th without comment, and today we will be looking for a final approval from the board.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. McCune. Is there anything you want to share with us?
No, nothing at all. Just here if there's any questions that pop up, but I appreciate everyone's time.
Okay. Any questions from the IDA members? Just to summarize our discussion at our last meeting, this seemed like a really good development on top of the solar panels in terms of making it far more functional, and battery storage is the direction we really need to go if we're going to try to make these solar and wind projects more than just intermittent energy. So, good thing, in my view. Anybody else? Okay, ready to vote. Duxon?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Did we need to make motion?
Jeez. See, I'm trying to, Todd moved. Todd moved.
Something to do this
I know, I want to go outside.
I'll make a motion.
I think Todd moved. I'll take you as a second. Thank you for keeping me on track there. Okay, Duxon,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay. So there it is. Thanks for coming in, and good luck with your project.
Thank you very much, sir. Cheers.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, and then we have the Caroline Solar. And I believe we have 4 applications. Do we have representatives from Caroline Solar with us?
We do, yes. Today we have with us Chet Feldman, Senior Director of Engineering from Distributed Sun, Amber Hall, and Tyler Adams, both from Pure Sky Energy. Welcome. I'll give a high-level introduction to the project, and then they can go a little further into more detail. These are 4 adjacent community solar projects located on Old 76 Road, also known as County Route 115 in the town of Caroline. These arrays total 17.5 megawatts for the purpose of generating renewable energy for consumption by NYSEG and its customers in the area. The requested incentives do deviate from the policy as they are requesting $3,900 per megawatt over 25 years with a 2% annual escalator as compared to policy, which is $4,200 per megawatt over 25 years with a 2% annual escalator. The reasons for the request in the reduction of megawatt charge is due to higher than normal interconnection costs totaling over $6 million or 34 cents a watt, and the cost of preservation efforts of a breeding pair of northern harriers, a state-listed threatened species. The administrative fee for solar projects is 0.5% of project costs, and the Town of Caroline supervisor has submitted a letter of support for this request. The IDA has done projects similar to this in the past and for the same company where there are multiple LLCs making up the overall project. There are 2 asks of the board today: to accept the applications as complete and move the projects onto a public hearing.
Okay. Welcome. Is there anything further you want to add at this point? Just tell us about your project.
Sure.
Make sure you speak into the microphone.
Sure. So I'm Chet Feldman, Senior Director of Engineering at Distributed Sun, joined by Tyler Adams and Amber Hall, our long-term investors and operators of the project. And it's been a few years, but I was here back in 2017, for better or for worse, working on the Dryden Tompkins Solar 1 and Solar 2 for ones that were built by the cemetery in the town of Dryden and on Cornell lands over there, for those familiar. Been here a while, been with Distributed Sun for 11 years, and happy to keep coming back to New York State to help it meet its renewable energy goals. So Kelly gave us the highlights of what the project is here. We've been working with our landowners. I met one of our landowners back in 2017. It's taken a long time for the primary landowner to, frankly, make peace with the fact that he's not going to be able to farm his lands forever. He's going to be keeping a portion of it for hay out to the east of where these projects are going to go. But we got over that hump. We were ready to work with him. And, you know, to my boss's chagrin, we've opted to go for one of the more expensive interconnections, well, the most expensive one I've ever worked on. We're going to be reconductoring 5+ miles of wire from our project site back to the Brooktondale substation. So 477 AL. I hope that aluminum prices actually come down. So this is our big cost item to make our economics strained. And as you know, we were meeting with the town last night and explained some of the broader market conditions. In July, we had to wait and review what was going on with the federal administration with respect to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and the Treasury guidance that came out soon thereafter. And that was all confirmatory that we are able to maintain the investment tax credit as long as we break ground before July 3rd of 2026 or get it placed in service prior to December 31st, 2027. So we thankfully, we still qualify for that, and we know that if we don't get this done in the near term, you know, that's not a good path for the project and the efforts that we've been putting in over the last few years with our landowners. So, you know, we're here trying to make this work, and we've put in this application with Kelly, and it's a tough interconnection cost, but hoping that we can work on a slightly lower rate.
Okay. Go ahead, Deborah.
Yeah, thank you. I assume that the higher interconnection costs are because the property is out in...
More than 5 miles from the substation.
Right, okay.
The largest substation in the town of Caroline.
Okay, that's understandable. And I'm not sure everybody else cares about this, but what about this breeding pair of harriers?
So last summer, as part of our environmental due diligence, we sent environmental specialists out. They were doing a grassland breeding bird survey to get a sense of what's out there. There was no indication from our queries to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services or the Department of Environmental Conservation that there was any concern here, but lo and behold, within a few of those sightings, not one but two, a male and a female, were observed in that site and corroborated by our landowner that yes, he's seen what he called the marsh hawk for many years.
So how do you accommodate that?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we have our impacted land by the solar, the fenced in area is 104 acres. So there's a calculator in short of what the DEC needs as mitigation lands. In the simplest term, it would be if we could conserve 312 acres over 5 years. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio over what we're impacting for 5 years, or unfortunately we've had to pull a bunch of math to get a smaller amount of land for a longer amount of time. So what we're doing is we're creating a net conservation benefit plan, more or less per the DEC. We're impacting a known habitat, and we have to go elsewhere to say, this is viable habitat, this is reliably known to be a place where northern harriers would be, and we're putting in binding agreements with 2 separate entities to say, these lands will be maintained in a particular fashion acceptable to the DEC that is supposed to encourage the northern harrier to inhabit that area.
So you move them?
We're not harrier catchers. No, it's an inducement, right? It's creating,
It's kind of like an offset for wetlands. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
and
sure.
hope the birds get the message.
One of the lands is directly in the town of Caroline, so we hope that they get that message there. We're also working with the Grassland Bird Trust out in Washington County, who their whole remit is finding open lands and conserving them in means.
Thanks for doing that.
Boy, we should be as concerned about the homeless as we are about these birds.
Okay.
I digress.
Jeff.
Quick question for Kelly. So Kelly, I just wanted to verify in the application I did note, because they're agrivoltaic, they would not, we would not apply the premiums associated
Correct.
with this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Second question for you. So if we did not deviate from the standard policy, so if we went with 4,200 from 3,900, how would that impact your project? Would it still be a go, or obviously it hurts you financially, but what would happen?
Yeah, I mean, largely, due to two large factors, right? The two large factors are, we're in calculating out the different terms, we're paying, what are we paying? Anyway, more than 20 cents a watt difference from what projects that the IDA has seen over the past versus what we're paying now, which is about $200,000 per megawatt. So that's a comparison of, we're paying a lot more on that part, and that's a big hurt, as well as, our efforts to get in line before the tax credits run out. So we feel like we're very much a marginal project that's going to go forward to take a chance on future revenues, with consultants saying the cost of electricity is going up, which makes the project viable. It has different impacts for the public at large, but we're quite close to the edge on this project, which is why it's taken so many years.
Sorry, one more follow-up then.
Go ahead.
So with the enhancements to the line that you need to make, is that specific for your project, or would anyone else benefit from that? Like, is that line just specifically going from your project to the substation, or does anyone else tap into that line?
So the way our projects work is that we apply to be on NYSEG's distribution grid. That is a public easement, right? That's their easement that we are reinforcing all the way back to the substation, and wherever there's a mismatch on, we're putting in a new transformer, for example, on a lot of different locations to make sure that when we upgrade, all the correct equipment gets upgraded in a similar fashion along the public line. So it's an improvement in capacity on that whole line. If folks wanted to start putting more heat pumps, more electric vehicle charging, et cetera, that.
So it'll benefit not necessarily just your project, obviously, but other people's as well.
Correct.
Or other homes or whatever.
Yeah, we're putting extra equipment in the substation as well, which helps, controls and safety for NYSEG.
Okay. Would it also enable other solar panel farms to site out there and tap into the same line?
At this point, no. We are, one of the reasons we've targeted the size we have, and again, are going to a very expensive interconnection, is we've been trying to figure out ways to spread the very large upgrade cost over a larger energy production plant. So we wanted to go for 20 megawatts when we started, and NYSEG very clearly showed us that bill, and that was not feasible. So.
Okay. But it's possible in the future somebody could buy property down the street and add capacity on this line?
Yeah. So, sorry, I was slightly flippant. There was the marker was at 18 megawatts, so there is about just enough for many folks to get their own private solar in there.
Okay. All right. As I'm sitting here, I'd very much like to see this project go forward. I'm concerned about setting a precedent and eroding what we have as sort of the formula for solar development. I guess I'd like to hear what the thoughts of the other IDA members are on that. I guess I'm inclined to make an exception here, but we have to understand what that would mean, that probably the next development that comes in is going to ask for the same thing. Deborah.
Well, I think that what's driving this is the distance. So I think if we make it clear that we're making this exception because of the distance, that would minimize the concerns that you have. But on the other hand, if other developers wanted to move farther out, I think at the end of the day, that's probably a positive benefit, and it might be worth considering making exceptions for those cases in the future.
Yeah, Todd?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, I see in the application, you have the 100% local labor. But I know like the project you did before and by the cemetery, I know that was out of town. I know LRS was local. They own, I think they own the land and did all the excavating, right? LRS.
We hired a group called CS Energy, and they took care of the compliance on local. So I don't actually know all the names of the.
Okay, because I know it was a contractor doing electrical was out of Rochester, and that was a disaster. But you will be hiring local people for this, yeah?
So part of the IDA agreement, right,
Yep.
is
75% local.
yeah, from I believe the 6 counties, or the Tompkins and the adjacent counties.
Yep.
Yes,
Touch, okay.
part of the agreement.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? I see we have the town supervisor, Mark Whitmer, with us. Did you want to come up and say anything?
Sure. So this is a learning curve for me.
Speak into the microphone.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Yeah, this is a learning process for me. So I'm today learning about the formula for how the pilot works. I did write a letter supporting Distributed Sun in submitting an application. Yeah, that's it. This has been in the works for a while. I personally would like to look at the numbers for how the pilot works, and to your point, Rich, about understanding the rationale for the exception from the formula. So because that will impact the town. So that's all I can comment on now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, I actually had a question for you. Going back to, I was here for the Dryden projects next to the cemetery, and it is interesting to me that it seems like the public has accepted that there will be solar panel farms in the community. Have you had any pushback? Have people come and complained?
Dead people?
Not really. We did have a public hearing and sent letters to all the adjacent landowners. This project is on private property, 3 different landowners. And so I think, they did outreach to friends and neighbors that they knew. There was one resident concerned about sound. So I think, Jet was able to address that.
Yeah.
The short answer is we have not had a lot of pushback.
Okay. Yeah, certainly comparing it to what happened with the Dryden project, which was a bit more exciting that way. It just is interesting that it seems like
we don't have excitement in Caroline, so.
It's not zoned for.
Sometimes that's a good thing. Okay, Jeff.
In the package, I didn't necessarily see it, but maybe I missed it. Do we have an estimate of the additional costs that you're going to incur for the line? And if it isn't in the package, would you be willing to share something like that with the board?
Yes, we'd be willing to share. Yeah, the NISO is very certain about putting critical energy infrastructure disclaimers on there, so we can't share NISO things, but NISEG has not done that. So yes, we can get that information to Kelly.
Okay, great.
Just to send it to a public hearing.
Yep. Yeah. Anything further? Oh, Duxon.
It's like the project is split into 4 sub-projects. Is that purely because of the ownership, or are there other reasons or advantages to breaking it up?
So the philosophy behind that is that we have 4 interconnection points with NYSEG, and just the way we like to structure it is that each interconnection with the utility is one project company, so that it holds its whole ability to deliver power to the grid. It's got its own lease. There'll be services rendered just to that one if someone's got to perform operations and maintenance. It's a financial organization.
Gotcha.
The way our
Thanks.
investors prefer it.
Thank you.
Okay. Mark, did you have something else?
Yeah, I just want to mention one, as far as my learning curve. So, and I mentioned this to Jet and Amber and Tyler this morning. The one thing I learned about host community benefit agreements, which are separate from the pilot. So I just wanted to broach that to the IDA and learn about anything that we should do, or any action we should take as a town to in that regard, or if you have experience with this, I'd be interested.
Typically, on this scale solar, you don't have host community agreements. And Russ and Kelly, correct me if I misstate anything, but say there's an industrial scale project going in Lansing Groton, and that New York State requires a host community agreement. But in this environment, you don't see them.
Okay, so there's a threshold for the size of the project for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
And I
you.
believe the tax credit structure is different too on the smaller projects. Is that correct? I mean, that's part of the reason you divided it into 4.
Well, yeah, I mean, at our scale with the Inflation Reduction Act, interconnection costs are able to be included as basis on the project. So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anything further? Are we ready to send it to public hearing? Could I get a motion? Jeff?
I want to keep
Deborah
you on track.
seconds. Any further discussion? All right, Duxon?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, so we will get that scheduled for public hearing, and we'll see what the public has to say, if anything.
Great.
So thanks for coming in.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Did you just schedule the date, or is that to be determined?
that'll be determined.
Okay,
And I know that's something,
We'll reach out to you.
I see, okay, thank you.
and that typically is held in the community, right? So that would be out. Yeah. Okay. We are up to the 2026 draft TCIDA budget approval, and just want to look for the page that's on.
99.
Oh, there we are. Okay. And this is where I'd like to just mention the Tompkins County budget process. We were addressing changes to the planning department's budget. And as you may recall, we had teamed up with the county planning department to do a housing study. We'd originally planned to do it on our own, and then we thought, well, it might make sense to do it in conjunction. So we delayed it, and there was $25,000 in the planning department budget to contribute to this. However, I don't know, Deborah and Greg, you could comment on the extent of the difficulties we're having with our budget, but given the fund balance sitting here at the Tompkins County IDA, it would be far preferable for the county if the IDA was able to pick up this cost this year. And so we thought it would make sense to bring it up and ask.
$25,000, please.
Toward what now?
Yeah, the IDA put up, I believe, $50K to do a housing study, and the county was going to put up 25. But it's finding it difficult for the county to put that into its 26 budget. And so I would recommend that we continue with the housing study and we just pay for it.
And to add on to that, I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah. We also have David West here from the County Planning Department. He is the Housing and Community Development Director, and he applied for a CDBG grant for an additional $50,000 that would help support the work of this study as well. So that ties into this additionally.
And just to note, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, but those CDBG grant funds have more of a limited scope around them, that it solely focuses on low to moderate income?
Correct. So the work done with the CDBG funds would have to benefit low to moderate income populations, which is certainly part of our housing strategy and the housing that's needed. So we would look to use those funds for that. And I think it's a great chance to combine that work and looking at the broader housing market, the market rate units within one study, so that we're taking a really holistic look. So it makes sense to do those two together.
And just to be clear, the county continues to contribute to this program with the housing snapshot and a lot of the data collection and advanced work that goes into it. The county would also sort of act as, I'll say, lead agency, for lack of a better term, to help manage the consultant and RFP process and make sure that we get everything put together. And, you know, it's been a lot of conversation that we don't just need to restate the problem, but if we can actually get something that has maybe a few more actionable steps that we could agree to. And, you know, that's what, you know, hopefully building up this budget, as we saw from the initial $50,000 that we sort of had out there for a study, we got a wide range of responses from consultants. And so hopefully 75 from the IDA, 50 from our grant program, plus the work that the county's doing, should be able to yield a robust 10-year strategy that we can work from with real results. I know that's a big ask, but we're going to get there, right, David?
That is certainly the focus. I'm not a fan of studies that sit on shelves. So I think it's important on two levels. The first is the county has a 10-year housing strategy that was 2016 to 2025. All of those projections were through the year 2025. So it is time for a new one. That sets our goals for both market and subsidized housing over that time period. So it's time for a fresh look. And also, you know, we are thousands of units behind what that strategy said we should get. So it's clear that we need more than a strategy. We need steps to make changes that are going to move the needle if we're going to achieve those goals. So it's setting the goals. It's finding out what are things we can do to really make an impact, to increase housing production, to make it easier to build, to get the housing where we need it, and addressing both sides of that market rate and non-market rate with the different funding sources, I think is a really good combination.
Jeff?
Yeah, I think so. Great, you actually answered my question. I just wanted to make sure that 75,000 was going to be enough. I'm totally in support of the IDA picking up the additional $25,000 cost. We certainly need it. I feel like we need it on our level as well to continue to make decisions. I guess my only question would be, with the grant that you're applying for, I just want to, because it's limited in that scope, will it affect our overall? I mean, I guess our study would take into account the study that's been done with your funds?
Ideally, they would be hand in glove together. It remains to be seen if we would have two different consultants, because there's slightly different kinds of work. Maybe we would want three consultants depending on how we break this out. I've been having a lot of conversations with different consulting groups about the scope that we're interested in, the feedback on the responses to the IDA's existing request. kind of where there was some things lacking there, the additional scope that we want to see that's really not just a regurgitation of our data. We're pretty good at understanding the data internally, but what can we actually do to make changes and be innovative and not just be, running a market report that you could do with AI.
How long would this study take, you think? I mean, if you pulled the trigger in another month or something like that?
Yeah, so my expectation is that we'll know about the grant by the end of the year, and we would be putting out an RFP in the first quarter, and that it would be hopefully less than a year-long process, but in that range. We would certainly have interim data by the end of the second quarter. We would be moving in that direction, but we want to make sure we're incorporating time for community outreach, time for review of the existing studies. So I think it's going to be a major work item for my department for 2026.
And just for clarity, if the CDBG grant is obtained, it would not prevent the overall study from studying workforce.
Not at all. And CDBG is also understanding of the fact that what's happening in the market rate market is impacting the people that they want to serve as well. So
okay, the conversation we've had here is that we've actually done, I think, a pretty good job of helping affordable housing projects go forward. And certainly there's a real push that led to a lot of market rate, full market, but this missing middle is where we seem to be facing a real challenge. And that's where I think the IDA would like to try to look at its housing policy to see if we could make some difference in that category. So that, I think that was the primary driver for why we were talking about a housing study here. Okay. Yeah. Todd, did you have your hand up?
No.
Okay. Deborah.
So do we need to make a motion to include
so.
this $25,000? I will do that.
Yes. Second?
I'll second that.
Jerry seconds. Okay. Further discussion on amending the draft budget to include this $25,000. Okay. Duxon?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So what we're looking at on page 99, we would add $25,000 to an expense and take that out of the projected ending balance.
Yes, on the 2026 draft budget, so the blue column under miscellaneous studies, you'll see the $50,000. We'll add $25,000 to that, bringing it to 75. So we will need approval to amend this draft budget as well.
Okay.
Oh, we do, okay.
And just as a reminder as to process, we need to pass the budget, approve the budget so that it can be submitted. I think there's a December deadline.
No, November 1st.
November 1st,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
For Paris, the accounting system at the state. Jeff?
So I should add that the Finance Committee did meet from the IDA, and we did approve this budget, obviously accepting the
Yes.
$25,000. So.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the draft budget shown on page 99? Could I get a, Kelly?
I'll just address a couple of things
Yes.
on here. Sorry, I had notes and we went way off of them.
Okay, Kelly, take the floor.
So I'll just give a breakdown of the projected fee income that's included in that last column. Possibly income coming from Yellow Barn Solar, Caroline Solar, and we included City Harbor. That's still kind of hanging out there. I'm not sure what the likelihood of that will be. Unfortunately, we may have to remove that at some point. Additionally, there are excess funds in the IDA budget, as you are well aware of, and the committee recommended moving an additional $500,000 from the checking account into the savings. The savings has done a really good job of earning some interest for the funds that have been moved into there. It is immediately accessible, so if the IDA decided that they needed to access money at any time, it can be transferred back into the checking account at any point. And by moving the funds into a savings account, there would still be enough to cover expenses throughout the year. And the savings account is currently earning 3.85% interest, and it is a variable rate. So I just wanted to highlight that. So if you did decide to do that, we would just need an approval to move those funds into the savings account.
Jeff, did you have anything to add on that?
Nope. We talked about it at the Finance Committee. I think I would certainly recommend that we do that instead of having a fund sit there. And I think Ina and Kelly will be monitoring, transferring the funds, and we don't anticipate any cash flow issues.
All right. Get a motion to make that amendment. Todd moves, Deborah seconds. Further discussion? Okay, call the vote. Duxon?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, so we will invest an additional $500,000. Any further comments or changes or amendments to the budget? All right, could I get a motion to approve the budget?
I'll move.
Jerry moves, Todd seconds. Ready? Okay, Duxon?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, so that's ready to be sent to New York State. Very good. Okay. Let's see. Do we want to talk about page 100 a little bit? And you mentioned City Harbor. I do have a comment on that, but these are our open projects on page 100. City Harbor was one of I thought, one of the more exciting projects that came before us in terms of really reshaping part of the city of Ithaca in a really positive way. The development was going to do a lot of different things. One is it was going to use waste heat from the Ithaca wastewater plant. In fact, the Guthrie building, the medical building down there, is tapping into that. But the idea was they would use heat exchangers and take energy before the water just goes out into the lake, which I thought was really innovative. There were also a lot of amenities. There were like pocket parks. There was going to be a promenade and an extension of the pathway that would provide a lot of access to people to some of our shoreline, at least the inlet. And it was going to be a lot of housing. I thought it was a really good project. Of course, it hit right at the pandemic and has stalled. We had a discussion maybe 2 years ago about our standard policy and how we have, this is what we offer. But that's really policy. We're not required to do that or not do that. I would put the idea out there that we could go to the City Harbor people and see if there's some additional incentive that could get them over the financing line so that this project could actually go. As I said, transformative, it would actually be building a new neighborhood on the other side of Route 13 that would allow people to really take advantage of living on the lakefront rather than on the other side of the highway. But I'd invite discussion if there's any interest in having Kelly.
When was the last time a conversation was had with developers?
Probably 6 months.
And
They're short about $4 million at that point.
How do we
Deborah?
make that up?
We certainly couldn't make that much up, but there might be some leverage in providing some incentive. Don't know.
I would certainly be in support of having a conversation to see, what they need,
Okay.
and have them come back to us from there.
It's worth hearing.
Yeah, with hearing.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Let's look that up.
Any other questions or comments on our open projects?
I'll point out that we did get an update on Meadow on Seneca. Initially, they were going to close the end of September, but that has been pushed out to, it looks like either Christmas or the end of March. So we'll keep tabs on that. Very random dates that they could be closing.
A spread there, right?
Yep.
Blind people throwing darts?
Yes, I think so.
And actually, it's on here, and Jerry, I had asked you if you might be able to just give us a brief update about the shared kitchen?
Another update?
Oh, no, that's right.
We talked about that last time.
We did, okay. I saw it there.
Continue to do very well.
I see funds disabused. I think that's dispersed. But, yes, that's right, I'm sorry. I guess I was so happy that it's happened that, okay.
Okay.
Quick thing, Rich. Is there anything on Block 14?
That is under the Development Corp update, yes.
So that's to come.
We can talk about it now if you want.
All right.
Excitement.
I think we're up to chair's report, and I just had that budget line item, so I don't have any other chair's report. So I'd go to staff report.
Yes, I have a couple of things. The first, I'll touch briefly on the Housing Committee meeting that was held on Monday. There was a lot of great information that was shared. One of the first items that was discussed was the replacement of Megan McDonald with David West on the committee, as he was hired by the county as the Housing and Community, I keep messing up your title. I am so sorry. Development Director. It's not that hard. So the committee recommended switching those two out. So since the committees were approved by this board at the beginning of the year, we would like to gain approval of the board for that switch as well.
Okay, could I get a motion? Greg?
I move that we replace Megan McDonald with David West.
All right, and Jerry second. Okay. David, anything you want to tell us?
I'm glad to be here. I'm back to the county after some time away. I was previously the county's housing planner, left during COVID, got some more boots on the ground experience, did a lot of things, including being the City of Geneva's Director of Planning and Economic Development and IDA Director and LDC Director. So I'm bringing back some more experience and looking forward to helping on the Housing Committee, and I'm here for your questions, thoughts, concerns. I have an open door, so looking forward to working with you all.
Okay. Anything further? Any questions, comments? Ready to vote? I'll call the roll. Duxon?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So congratulations and thank you for
Thank you.
joining us. Okay.
Yes.
And also thanks to Megan for her contributions to date. She's
Absolutely.
worn many hats in her deputy director role, and we're grateful for her contributions.
Yes. Moving on, I do have an update on Yellow Barn. They requested to postpone the public hearing as they were working with the towns to reach an agreement on the HCA, as we all know. They plan to have that by the end of the month, and moving forward, we will be holding the public hearing for that project prior to the November meeting. Then they would like to move forward with gaining the approval at the November meeting, then close on just the sales tax portion of their incentive before the end of the year. And then pay $25,000 to the IDA as part of their administrative fee and pay the outstanding legal fees that they have acquired to date. And that way, they'll have the sales tax incentive in place that they can utilize once they're ready to hit the ground running with the project. then they'll close on the pilot and mortgage recording tax incentive, either Q1 or Q2. And with that, I'll turn it over to Russ for a little more information on this setup.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. As you recall, if you recall, we had the hearing noticed and scheduled. At their request, they decided just to postpone it as a result of, I think it's just more calendaring delays and getting on the same page with the host municipalities. So we basically postponed that. We've had numerous discussions with them, and they would like to proceed once those discussions are over. I think we know we're all going to end up with what they propose. We would then schedule the hearing in advance of the November meeting, and it basically is the same hearing notice, just changing the date and potentially the location depending upon availability. We would come back to the board for final approval in November, or they would come back to the board for final approval in November. Assuming the board wants to proceed, we would close for them on the sales tax portion of the benefits, and then there's no rush on the pilot so long as we get it done for them prior to the March 1 tax status date of March 1 of next year. In fact, it may even move to 2027. So long as it happens by then, they would receive the pilot benefits based upon their construction schedule. So really, it's just a change in the timing of the public hearing and when they would come back to the board for final approval.
Todd.
Hey, Ross, is it too late to add that prompt payment language to this stuff? Because I mean, the hours involved in a job like this for the excavators and electricians, it would put companies out of business, because these subcontractors are on the hook for completing everything by the timeline, or they get fined liquidated damages and stuff, and then they got to pay the guys that pays benefits, everything incorporated with prevailing wage. And it could destroy some of these, whether the union or non-union contractors, it would put them out of business on a job this size.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, go ahead, Todd. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
At least the prompt payment keeps them paying everybody involved, from the vendors to the warehouses to all the subs involved. Everybody's paid timely. Otherwise, it would really devastate some of these people who are employing local labor. I'd love to see something like that adopted. It's not going to hinder them at all. It just keeps them playing ball right.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this, not necessarily with respect to this specific project in the past. Just as a reminder, any project is required to comply with all applicable law. So if they are in fact subject to the Prompt Payment Act, which I'm candidly not overly familiar with, they have to comply with that. And if they don't comply with it and they close with the IDA, that could trigger an issue on the documents that we have with them. It's up to the board if you want to have a specific reference within the four corners of our documents referring to the Prompt Payment Act. I certainly don't have a problem with it. It's more just specificity versus they are required to comply with all applicable law in any respect.
Thanks, Russ. I'd love to see us adopt something, reference something on there.
I certainly want subcontractors to get paid, but I'm not sure we have the capability of tracking it or doing anything about it, other than pulling the incentive, which would be sort of the nuclear option. So
and Todd, I'm sorry, and also remember, if there's a lien that is put on the property, a mechanics lien or other lien, they have to cure that, and don't quote me on the number of days, within 30 days, or that also could be a trigger of default. And as Rich noted, the leverage that the IDA has, if they don't comply with that or any other law that they're required to, that also could trigger an event of default.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, Russ, know contractors between excavators and electricians where they got mechanical lien, they got liens on everything on a lot of these projects, not just like CS Energy with other projects when it comes to solar. Solar's tough, because a lot of times they change hands in between, from the one that first starts the pilot to the end owner. It changes hands so many times that the subcontractors left complete and everything because of the fear of the liquidated damages, and And then they got to spend thousands and thousands of dollars just to try to get the most they can get, and never really get everything. So it's just disheartening when they're the ones employing the local people, not these owners. But if we give anything that gives more teeth into that, it'd be huge for these people to finally get paid.
Yeah, it's certainly at the board's discretion if they would like to beef up the language, for lack of a better way of putting it. But as Rich noted, I don't know how we would enforce that, how we would collect that, if in fact it comes to that point. But again, we can certainly beef up the language if that's what the board would like to see.
Deborah?
I think we might have one option short of the nuclear option, but it's sort of a longer range thing. If we're tracking this and we have developers that come back for a second bite on a second project, and they have a record of not paying their contractors, then I think that's an automatic no. Is there some way, are we tracking this? Is there some way we can track it?
I'm sure I can get information on that.
I bet you could.
Yeah, and Deb, I just don't know how administratively, and I'm just thinking logically here, how it could be tracked by the board or the team that, supports the board or us, frankly, how that could be tracked. But if there's a lien filed, we would become aware of that and advise the board and ask for their position on it.
Well, I mean, I don't think we ought to be extending another chance to a contractor that's not paying or a developer that's not paying.
And Deb, to your point, any project that would come back and has had issues in the past, or any project that comes, it's at the board's discretion whether you want to approve it or not. So long as you have a rational basis for saying yes or no, that's within your discretion.
And
Yeah.
I guess, Todd, it seems like if there were subcontractors that had really bad experience with a developer that was coming before us,
We'd want to know.
we'd want to know. Would they tell us?
The bad thing now is some of them are caught up in legal stuff where they can't say anything, so it's yeah. So it's tough, and it's not just, that's in a lot of these solar projects. It happens. But we get some good, Next Amp has a really good reputation, and, some of these other ones, it's just, back and forth, you never know. But at least it gives some more teeth in the, if we have something in the policy, and I like to say with any IDA funded projects that there's a Prompt Payment Act language adapted to it, because it doesn't hurt the contractor. Like I've asked before for bonding, make these developers, owners post bonding, the people that are delaying, because you always hear, well, the owner hasn't paid yet, or the developer hasn't paid yet. I can't pay if I don't get paid yet. But all the subs got to pay their employers, or the employers aren't going to be there. They got to pay the people doing the work. So they're getting extensions on their line of credit. They're paying the bills like they're supposed to. And meanwhile, they're just, the developers, dangling that in front of them. Well, the next project, I'll take you there. And, basically using the subcontractors' monies and principal to fund their projects, because it takes them forever to get paid. If you have Prompt Payment Act, it forces them to pay within, I think it's 30 days or 60 days. After certain phases of completions, everybody's got to be paid off.
Is that state or federal?
Oh, I thought it was state. I think it might be Fed. I thought it was. You see a lot
I don't know. I'm not a labor lawyer. I can certainly find that out quickly and advise the board.
Maybe this is something we could make a discussion item for our next meeting.
Yeah.
So we could learn a little bit more about this statute, what its impact would be, and try to get a sense of whether it would be something that could be put into our agreements.
Yeah, and Rich, we're happy to do it, 10,000-foot memorandum to share with the board as to what the Prompt Payment Act is and suggestions how that could be, worked within our documents.
Okay, I think that would be a good place to start.
Thanks, Russ.
Happy to do that.
All right. Okay. Are we up to minutes approval? All right, we have minutes from September 10th, 2025. Could I get a motion? Deborah moves.
I'll second.
Jerry seconds. All right.
I
Questions,
have a
comments?
question.
Yeah.
So did Did the Zoom generate these comments? Because I've never seen so many ums in our minutes.
It was corrected and we resent them, so I can't remember.
I did look at
I
some.
did.
Every
Not every single because I went, so basically, this is much more of a transcript because I did these minutes at home after I fell down the stairs. Did not have my notes, so I went from the YouTube live stream, which does have a transcript.
Okay.
I actually did my very best to pull out a lot of the ums.
There are
Was
so many
unsuccessful.
ums.
I did, we were notified. I went back
You're a
and
nation of ums.
I pulled every single that was not part of another word and reposted the corrected ones, and I did email on the board.
Oh,
So
okay.
check but we didn't put it in the packet. I mean, it's in the old packet, and it's on the website in the corrected form.
So it's not going to go out like this, making us all sound like inarticulate idiots?
No.
Thank you.
My apologies.
I think Deborah
You sent
Dawson,
us corrected.
Deborah Dawson commented, I don't feel.
Yes, exactly.
I did notice these minutes
My
were,
Toastmasters people would be banging.
yeah. No, I noticed these minutes were lengthier.
Yes.
Okay.
There were a lot of comments.
Are we ready to vote? I'll do it by show of hands to approve the minutes. Great. Okay. Any other business to come before the IDA? Seeing none, motion to adjourn. Todd moves, Jeff seconds. All those in favor? All right. And I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Tompkins County Development Corporation for Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. First item is privilege of the floor. Is there anybody who wishes to address the Development Corporation? All right, seeing none, are there any additions to the agenda?
There are not.
Okay. We have business on page 2, which is the draft TCDC budget, which we'll need to approve. And Kelly, do you want to talk to it?
Yes. This is a much skinnier budget than the TCIDA budget. The interest line projecting $100 in interest for 2026, and you'll notice that the Friends of Ithaca Farmers Market, that was paid out in 2025, so not an item for 2026. And Block 14, they are expecting to utilize their full allocation by the end of this year. So there's nothing in either of those items for 2026. I did connect with Russ about different ways to earn income for the Development Corp, and really the only way is by bond projects. So by those not-for-profit projects that in 2024, I believe it was, there was the one for Cayuga Health Systems. Russ and I did have a conversation with a prospect this week, so fingers crossed that that comes into fruition. That could be north of $100,000 of income. He did say that funds that go into the Development Corp could be transferred into the IDA's account, not vice versa. Funds that go into the IDA need to stay there, and because they're managed much more strictly than funds that are in the Development Corp, as we know.
Does the Development Corp information go into Paris, or is that just IDA?
It does.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. So for updates, we'll stick with the budget, as we do need to approve that. Any questions on the budget?
I guess I just have a comment that the reason we were asking at the Finance Committee about could we move any of the money from the IDA into the Development Corporation is we have a lot more flexibility in how we can use it. That's where we've been able to do some of the, I think, more interesting stuff in terms of helping the commercial kitchen, the farmer's market, Block 14. But it seems like New York State doesn't want us to
Interesting things.
to do those kinds of things, which is too bad. But, you know, in prior years, there did seem to be far more of a steady flow of projects going through the Development Corporation, so the numbers got replenished, and it would be good if we found a way to, you know, do more work. One of the principal customers was Cornell, but they're either using the dormitory authority for some things or using their fund balance. That may change with all the change that's happening around here, but it's sort of changed the character of the Development Corporation a bit.
Yeah, and Rich, if I may, this is Russ. If you would like to have a conversation offline, I'm happy to strategize with you on how to make that happen.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
And you're right that it's a little bit for just some quirky, unthought state regulations on the IDA and what IDAs can and cannot do with their fee revenue. Because if you remember, IDAs really have no other source of money other than doing projects. They get no money from the state. There's no tax revenue, and then yet there's these kind of unintentioned limitations on what you can and cannot do with your money. So I'm happy to speak with you and whoever else would like to speak about strategies and how to better make use of the IDA fund balances.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay.
Russ, I have a question for you. At what dollar amount would you say that it economically makes sense for a prospect to do a bond deal? Like, I know with an IDA project, the minimum is $1 million for it to financially.
Well, part of the reason that the bond financing, as Rich noted, you know, with some of the larger borrowers, is they get pressure from the state issuers, from which they get state money. And so the answer to the question is, it depends upon the structure of the deal. You know, if you have a small bond transaction for a 501c3, you know, for $3 or $4 million, it can be done where it works.
Okay.
The interest rate climate is not what it used to be. It just has to be structured properly in order for the borrower to make economic sense for the borrower.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on the Development Corporation budget? Motion to approve. Duxon moves, Deborah seconds. Questions, comments? Duxon?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, that's approved. I do not have a chair's report. There's staff report.
Yes, I have updates from both Monica Roth and Gary Ferguson. So I'll just read the email that Monica sent in regards to the progress at the Ithaca Farmers Market. She said, "Dear Kelly, I am most happy to report our progress at the Ithaca Farmers Market. We are very nearly done with the project. 6 more bike racks going in this week. That is about it except for planting. Ithaca Farmers Market is taking responsibility for the planting, so no contractors involved. We still have final bills to pay and need to pay off our loan. We are waiting for about $900,000 in state reimbursement, and then once we close the project, we should receive another $250,000 in final grant money back. Unfortunately, these final steps take time, so I assume all of our obligations related to this project will be finalized by mid-2026. I am trying to fundraise for $200,000 by year end so that we can pay off our loan sooner to avoid the $10,000 in interest payments. Thanks again for the $125,000 from, she says, IDA last year. It made a huge difference in our ability to meet our required state match, which we did. Raised $612,000 towards the match of $570,000. If there might be interest by the TCIDA in helping us again, that would be great. A smaller amount of $75,000 would make a huge difference to our cash flow. I would be happy to come to a committee meeting to report in person and answer any questions."
I note that the Development Corporation does have a balance. The projected ending balance at the end of this year is in the neighborhood of $250,000. Is there any appetite for having a conversation with the farmer's market? Deborah?
I always have an appetite for the farmer's market. I mean, I think this is a very worthwhile thing that we're supporting. It's something that, in many ways, has put Ithaca on the map.
It certainly is an economic engine.
Yes.
And the money is sitting in the Development Corporation. That's taxpayer money. We could put it to work. I don't really like the idea of bringing that balance down too low, but that's what it's for. Anybody else?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
It's amazing what they've done down there. It's a really remarkable transformation.
You still can't find any place to park.
No.
Oh. That's because many of the people have the same appetite you have.
Yeah, I know.
The number that was floated was 75K. Is there any reaction to that?
I think we need to hear the case. I mean, we don't have to give them everything they ask for.
Okay.
We might want to, but.
Would you like to see Monica invited to our next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Any objection? Don't hear any. Okay, good. All right, block 14.
Okay, block 14. We reached out to Gary, and he said that there were a couple of items that pertain to the IDA Development Corp. He stated that they will need and want the final $30,000, and he will prepare a report and get that over to us in the next few days to bring accounting up to date. He said they also want to provide the board with a presentation of the work that has been done to date, and will provide a summary report as well, and they would like to be on the November agenda.
Great.
So.
All right.
Well, that agenda's shaping right up.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's it.
Okay. And then we have minutes from March 12th, 2025. So March 12th, wow. So we're catching up on those. Could I get a motion on the minutes?
I will move those.
Jerry moves, Duxon seconds. All those in favor?
As best I can remember.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is there any other business to come before the Development Corporation? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Todd moves, Duxon seconds. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.